So today we'll be talking a lot about paying attention to your own guidance system. We want you to understand the power of your emotions, because your emotions are literally the engine of your guidance system. The way you feel is your visceral response, your physical visceral response to your vibrational frequencies. And there are two particular patterns of thought that are evidenced by your guidance system. It is the thought of desire, and it's the thought of whatever you're thinking about now. So if you're thinking about your desire right now, you're in alignment. And the energy within you is an open current. And that feels like clarity. It feels like passion. It feels like love. It feels like appreciation. It feels ecstatic. It feels so wonderful to be focused upon something and be at the same time offering no contradictory thought. Oh, that feels good. That's the way life is supposed to feel. What doesn't feel so good, and it feels good and less good and less good and less good and less good, in other words, the degree to which you feel it has to do with the intensity with which you want it. If you hardly want anything, haven't been thinking much about what you want, you've been working really hard at being content. When people say, what do you want? You say, doesn't matter. When people say, well, where would you like to live? You say, anywhere is fine. When they say, well, how much money would you like to make? You say, whatever comes. When they say, well, what kind of people do you like to be around? You say, doesn't really matter to me. If they say, well, what kind of movies do you prefer? You say, don't care, like them all. First of all, you're weird. But if you could be in that place of really having no clear opinions about this, that, or the other, then it would not matter to you what you were observing. It would not cause contradiction in your vibration. But you can't be like that, because all of the days of your physical experience, you have been introduced and surrounded by a contrasting experience that exists for the producing within you of personal preferences. You see, you were wired to care about the way you feel, which means everything that is around you is evaluated by you at conscious and unconscious levels about how it affects you. Oh, think about the power of that. Now, if you were orchestrating a universe, and by the way you are, but if it was completely in your control, and you had all of these factors or entities that you adored, and you cared about the survival, the joyous survival, you cared about the evolution, the joyous evolution, you cared about the expansion, the joyous expansion of every one of them, wouldn't you like it if each one of them had their personal point of attraction and was pre-wired, so to speak, to care about how they feel? And doesn't it make sense that if each one of them was looking out for themselves and saying, this would be best for me, this would be best for me, that if there was some way of satisfying that which would be best for each of them, then the whole would expand in a powerful, wonderful way? That's what this universe is. That's how it is for all of us. Each of us gets to have our own perspective from which we desire or prefer, and source energy answers every single one of us. There's no shortage of source, there's no shortage of answers, there's no shortage of substance, there's no shortage of all of the stuff or non-stuff that any of us want. There's no shortage of it. It expands proportionate to our ability to desire it. So, you are not in competition with anyone. There is no possible way that someone else could get your stuff or your reward. It's there for you. So when you understand that, then, only when you understand that, then, if you understand that, and only if you understand that, then, are you able to get on with your life in the way that you have intended, by projecting your thought and then aligning your vibrational frequency with the thought of your desire. It sounds simple, we know. But hardly anyone that you meet who is in physical human form is doing it on a very consistent basis, because most people are offering most of their vibration in response to what they are observing. Now, that's not a particularly bad thing, especially when you live in an environment like you all live in, where there is so much more that is going well than not. In other words, you can get along pretty well by observing and letting the preponderance of your vibration be about the well-being that you are observing. But it doesn't feel very satisfying in terms of being a deliberate creator. You did not say, I will go forth into an environment that has all been smoothed out. You did not say, get everything all cleaned up for me, get rid of all the pestilence and violence, and get rid of all the hunger, get rid of all of everybody being unkind to everybody, and when everything is all the way I want it to be, then I'll come forth and I'll just observe and live happily ever after. You said, I'll go forth into the environment that exists, and from the environment I will achieve my personal preferences. And as those personal preferences exude from me, I understand, you said, because you did understand, source energy will answer my preferences. And the universe will expand as a result of my participation in this. And I will have a very good time because you said, and we said we would remind you, I will pay attention to the way I feel. And the way I feel will always keep me pointed toward what I have concluded step by step that I prefer. Do you believe that? Do you understand? Do you believe in your own guidance system? Do you trust your gut? Do you trust your gut, or do you follow your head? Do you care how you feel, or you try to think your way out of a problem? This gathering is called the art of allowing. We used to call it the science of deliberate creation, but when we called it the science of deliberate creation, you tried too hard to think your way out. And when we began calling it the art of allowing, then you began trying to feel your way out. That is really what we want you to do. We want you to feel where you are. We want you to feel the difference between alignment or resistance. We want you to feel alignment. So, as we are moving forward here today, we'll talk with you about anything that is important to you. We'll show you the importance of emotions, and we'll talk about different processes. Some of you have been listening to us for a while, and you know that we are eternal spewers of processes. We always offer the process that we think is most appropriate for the vibrational stance of you. And since each of you comes with your own experience, you're not all at the same emotional place. And so a process that might be appropriate for one person may not be appropriate for another. In fact, a process that might work splendidly for you today might not be the best one for you tomorrow. We want you to get so good at knowing where you are vibrationally, of knowing what your point of attraction is, and knowing what your goal of releasing resistance is, that you get very good at picking from the variety of processes the one that would suit you best right now. There's a range of emotions that goes all the way from empowered to disempowered. And every emotion, whether you call it fear or whether you call it joy, is something about that range from disempowered to empowered. It's something about the feeling of absolute freedom, which is who we all are, and disempowerment or bondage, which is absolutely not who we are. But there are some things that occur in your physical experience that make you feel powerless. And the more powerless you feel, the worse you feel. The more empowered you feel, the better you feel, because you are empowered creators. That's who you are. You are naturally free beings, and you know that you are beings who can be or do or have anything, who have in fact come here to be or do or have what you are choosing to be or do or have. So when something happens in your experience that makes you feel powerless, then emotions like discouragement, emotions like fear, emotions like despair or depression are good labels for the way you feel. Those are word labels that really describe feelings of utter disempowerment. So today, we're going to be talking with a lot of people, and we will choose you based upon the intensity of your desire to visit with us. And if there is opportunity and willingness from you, we will, along with those who are listening in, help you to identify where you are on this emotional meter. And then we will apply what we believe is the most effective process to help you move up the meter. Now, some of you are thinking, yes, but what's that got to do with what I've come here to talk about? Because someone who doesn't have enough money would like a plan to get more money. Someone who's in a sick body would like a plan to get to a weller body. Someone who is lonely and without a relationship would like to know how they can find their perfect partner. And what we hope that you will come to a place of understanding as we are chewing together here today is that every journey from wherever you are to wherever you want to be, whether you realize it at first or not, is really an emotional journey. In other words, rather than saying, I don't have enough money, the bill collectors are hounding me, I don't even want to answer my telephone, I am really in financial bondage, and I want to find a way to find an avenue to get more money so that I can pay my bills and have money left over so that I can do more of the things that I want to do. Instead of that action journey, what we want you to understand is that it is an emotional journey that goes more like, right here, right now, I would like to find my way from this fear of not enough money to the feeling of security of financial well-being. We want to show you how you can make the emotional journey in a matter of minutes, certainly in a matter of days. And once you make the emotional journey, the physical journey will take care of itself. But if you try to take the physical journey before you've taken the emotional journey, which means as you try to offer action before you've adjusted your vibration, law of attraction doesn't help you. You can't buck that current. So you come away from the whole exercise feeling discouraged because nothing's changing. I keep trying it and I keep trying it and I keep trying it, you say, and nothing works for me. And we say, it will work for you if you will relax and decide that you are going to let it be an emotional journey. Now, in really simple terms, what making it an emotional journey means is, I'm just going to make the best of wherever I am. Anything that's bothering me, I'm going to try to soften it by making the best of it. Now, if you try to make the best of it too far from where you are, you'll just throw yourself off into the bushes. So what you want to say is, I'm reaching for the best feeling thought that I have access to. Not the best feeling thought anybody's ever thought. Not the best feeling thought I've ever thought. The best feeling thought I can find right here, right now about this. And when you do your best to find a thought that feels just a little better, and here's the important part, you pay no attention to what anybody else thinks about it. The only thing that matters is that you feel better. Once you achieve just that little particle of feeling better, and you stop and say, I do feel better, no matter how bad you still feel, I feel better than I felt before. Now you're free. Because isn't it logical? If I am so depressed that I can't get a breath of fresh air, I can hardly breathe, I feel claustrophobic, and then I find a life-giving thought of anger, and I beat the drum of it, even though it's still socially unacceptable, and even though my therapist or my mate liked me better when I was depressed, because at least I left them alone. Now I'm angry in their face. I have to admit, and I'm the only one that counts here, I have to admit this anger feels infinitely better than that bondage and depression and claustrophobia that I felt before. And if you stop and recognize that you do feel better, and then you say, and I chose this thought on purpose. My thoughts aren't thinking me. I deliberately reached for this angry thought, and I like this angry thought a whole lot better than this depressed thought. Now I'm back in charge. And if I still continue to follow the mantra, I'm going to reach for the best feeling thought I have access to, I might find a thought that feels even better than this angry thought. And if I still do it, I might find a thought that feels better than this thought of frustration or overwhelmment. There is relief in every thought. It's sort of hard for you to hear from your physical vantage point because it seems like there should not be much relief from a feeling of ecstasy. But we're here to tell you that there are even degrees of ecstasy. And so the operative word, the thing you can get your thoughts around is, I'm reaching for relief. So how does that fall into the greater scheme of things? Well, you are extensions of source energy. That's who you are. You are physical. Yes, you are. We see you in your bodies, but you are vibrational more than you are physical. You are electronic more than you are physical. You are vibrating mechanisms. You are extensions of source energy. And when the circuits are all open, you feel wonderful.